which one in Congress is the one that's going to give you your stimulus check? Rudolph needs to guide these congressmen to get your second stimulus check. And this is Afternoons LLA. Thank you for tuning in on a special Christmas Eve edition. Because I'm live, I can't have any Christmas music underneath the video unless I could have done something else. But thank you for joining me on Afternoons LLA on Being a Mitch, our Afternoons live program of Q&A that goes over your unemployment benefits, UI, PUA, FPUC, especially as millions of viewers who are on UI or PUA are seeing the 27th upon them. PUA will expire this weekend on the 27th. There's no way to extend PUA. PEUC will also expire this weekend on the 27th. States can extend UI benefits, so I'll go over what's going on with your state extended benefits. I'll be going over what's going on with Congress, and I'll be going I will be going over also what's going on with those merry little elves that you call Congress people, who Santa's just should basically skip their houses this season. And there we are. Thank you for joining me on Afternoons LA. There's 168 people in the room as we start, but as more people come in, I will update you later in the video of where we are. Where we are this afternoon is a sort of series of shocking developments as broadcast news is really not getting it right. Print journalism is not getting it right. And the coverage of the second stimulus package is now going off the tracks as much as the stimulus check itself is going off the tracks. The broadcast news reporters are basically running the same story, which is Republicans have now denied you a $2,000 stimulus check. I don't know where this narrative came from, but it came from Nancy Pelosi. Well, it started from Nancy Pelosi, and it's really not true. And so broadcast media is sort of ignoring 90% of the story of your second stimulus package. And they're saying Republicans have denied you a stimulus check, denied you unemployment benefits. And there's a lot more at it. And it simply is not really what happened today. And it's not what happened this morning. It's not what's going to happen on Monday. So where we are right now is we still have a bill. The bill is on the president's table in the Oval Office. The bill is the second stimulus package bill that was bicameral, bipartisan, passed by members of Congress a few days ago, where they met and they went over the provisions together as a team and drafted it as a team, but someone amongst them slid in some money that should not have been in there, and no one else caught it. No one's taking ownership of it. And on the other side, the parties that are going after the issue are not going after it deep enough. What happened was somewhere during the scope of the negotiations, somewhere presumably near the 11th hour, someone on the Democratic side slid in $9 billion for foreign governments and $1 billion for museums like the Smithsonian Institute. No one on the Republican side caught it. And now the Republicans and Americans want it out. The Democrats don't want to take it out. But the broadcast news media are not even covering the issue as though it doesn't even exist. The president, in his recorded message on Tuesday, mentioned four things he wants out. The first one he spent the vast majority of his recording on was the federal governments. He said this a day after Twitter was talking about this round the clock. Twitter did not want Kenya and Cambodia and all these countries around the world to get $1 billion in an emergency stimulus package. Didn't want it in there. The president said, take it out. We heard it, you heard it, and it was one of four items. The Republicans now admit that they were not behind the provision. The Democrats were. The Democrats admit that, but when asked about the subject matter, the Democrats refused to take it out. They're refusing to take out the provision, and they're not explaining how it got in there. Now, the Republicans on the other side are being a little bit of a, how would you say it, roll over, like fold up like a lawn chair, because they're not going after this like a pit bull. They should go after the person who put the language in there and say, you put this in there. I didn't agree to this. Who put that language in there? You never should have put the $1 billion for the foreign countries in there. You slid it in there. We had not agreed to it. Instead, they're sort of they're not going on attack mode, and they're being eaten up alive by broadcast news media, which is only talking about the stimulus check when there's three issues at hand. Now, the Smithsonian Institute is a museum in Washington, D.C., beautiful museum, but it does not need $1 billion of renovations in an emergency stimulus package. And that's what the president said take it out. So again, the Democrats put it in. The Republicans don't want it. The Republicans want it taken out, and the Democrats saying no, we're not taking it in. We're not taking it out. Sorry, we're not taking it out. So we see people who slid language in there. Um, I don't know what adverb you would say, covertly, under cloak and dagger. Someone in the Democratic leadership, under cloak and dagger, slid pork into the bill, and no one on the Republican side caught it. So the Republicans are looking like they don't cross their T's and dot their I's. They looking like a bunch of people you can what do you say, pull wool over their eyes. So they're not looking good about it. But now that they admit they were conned by whoever in the Democrats slid the pork into the bill, now the Republicans are not going on attack hard enough. They're going very like this. They're going very soft about it. And the result is that the Democrats are hitting harder with the stimulus check, and the Republicans are like this about the foreign governments. And the broadcast media is just eating up the Republicans. It is not going well. So what will Mitch be doing? Is Mitch going to support the $2,000 stimulus check? Is Mitch going to support the provisions that the president asked for? And is Mitch going to do an override of the veto, or is going to amend the bill? Mitch has a lot of choices. In this video, being a Mitch, I'm going to go over all what Mitch has the options for. One, Mitch has the option to override the veto of the president, which at the moment has not been formulated into pen, but could turn into a pocket veto. So Mitch could override what the president's doing and leave you with a stimulus package that, for the most part, is generally good, but omits adult dependence, gives you only a $600 stimulus check, and omits mortgage forbearance, but does have some other really good stuff in there. Mitch could do that. He would not have to ask Nancy about it. He could simply go do it and then set up Nancy to decide what she wants to do. On the other hand, Mitch could simply say, okay, Mr. President, you want four things out? I'm taking the four things out. Here's your amendment. I'm taking the four things out, and I'm putting in this $2,000 stimulus check. Now your move, Nancy. You only took one thing out. You didn't fix the other three things. So of those, and then the third option Mitch can do is much of nothing. He can just do nothing. And where is this going to land? Ultimately, it's going to land on whether Mitch understands there's a public perception of the situation. The public perception of the situation is that the president said something, the president got support, both Democrats and Republicans supported his remarks about the four things, and that Mitch really should do the four things. And here's an interesting twist, which you'll only hear from me. Here's an interesting twist. If Mitch thinks that the Republicans who are miserly, that don't want to spend money on things, won't follow what Mitch does, who cares? Ultimately, you want to push back against Nancy. And the only way to push back against Nancy is potentially to do the following. Do exactly what Trump said, do the four things, introduce it to the Senate, get it passed, and then say, Nancy, I did what the president said. You did what the president did not say to do. You did one of the four things. And I did four of the four things. What do you want to do? Checkmate. And then you have a better perception for media circus for the two sides. Then you have Nancy clearly doing one of four and Mitch doing four of four. And yet, while there may not be a bill that is agreed upon by both sides, at least Mitch has fixed the bill exactly the way the leader of the Republican Party, the President of the United States, has said has to do what's to do. Please do what's right, says Brian. And the only thing to do what's right is exactly what the President asked to have done. 4 of 4 items. Mitch needs to do 4 of 4 items because otherwise, then he's not going to be doing anything to help the viewers of this channel. Doing nothing is not a good option. That's not a good option. Not doing anything of any sort. Overriding the president is a little bit precarious because basically the president wants 4 things out, you're leaving 4 things in. And it also looks bad in deflecting against Nancy, who gets the $2,000 stimulus check. So Mitch's best choice is to do exactly what the president asks and to do exactly what the president demands. In fact, no one in broadcast media, which has been very lazily lately, I mean, broadcast media has just been very, very infantile in the reporting lately. Broadcast media should run Mitch McConnell's quote, His quote, I remember the video. He's standing against the wall and he says, "Well, when we're working on the CR, we need a president to sign it, and that's why I've gone to the president. Ultimately, the president's going to tell me what to do." Well, guess what? It's been 3 weeks now. Are you throwing out your own comment? You need to actually do exactly what you said, which is follow what the president says. And so I think this is probably the safest bet of the three options. If you're just joining me now at the 10-minute mark, let me explain where we are today. Earlier today, two votes were cast in the House of Representatives, neither of which pushed or changed the situation. A bill currently sits on the president's table that has a $600 stimulus check. The president says he won't sign it for 4 reasons. Earlier today, the Republicans put a consent, a consent vote on the House floor, asking to revise two of the four provisions. It lost. It was blocked. Then Nancy did much the same, but her consent vote was for one of the four provisions. It was blocked as well. So nothing was effectuated today. We're still the same as we were yesterday. So what is Nancy going to do? On Monday or Tuesday, Nancy's going to call for a complete House vote on fixing one of the four provisions, not four of the four provisions. She's only fixing the stimulus check amount. And she's leaving in the other three and defending the inclusion of the other three and ignoring even the discussion of the other three. She's just simply deflecting. She's not referring to them even at issue, even though they clearly are at issue. She will call that vote. It will likely pass the House and then it'll land in the Senate. Meantime, Mitch has to make a move. Mitch has to make a move because leading Republicans are now saying that whatever Nancy sends to the Senate for that one item, that stimulus check item only, not all four items, will ultimately die. And that a bill dying in the Senate is not going to look good for the Republicans. It's also not going to look good for the Democrats. Nancy's trying to play this up for Georgia. We all know this. It just smells of Georgia all over the place. But I got to tell you that it doesn't play out so clearly. These are people who Americans understood were going to give you a $600 stimulus check. If you go on Twitter and social media's been very up to date generally on what's going on. It's not like they watch YouTube, this channel all the time, but they're generally up to date. They understood there was a $600 stimulus check. They understood $600 was junk. They understood there was bailouts of foreign governments in this proposed bill. They understood it shouldn't be in there. And they understand that Congress has been dragging this for months. So social media is not embracing either side on this. They're not happy with the situation. So now at the 12-minute mark, let me turn to your unemployment benefits because I know this is a big question. It's a big question and it's very confusing. Let me explain where you are on your unemployment benefits. First, I'm going to go over PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. This is for my Uber and Lyft drivers, my Grubhub, my self-employed independent contractors. Your PUA, what's going on and what will go on with your PUA? Your PUA will expire this weekend, December 27th. It will expire this weekend, or it already has expired in your state. So when is your last week that you can certify for benefits for PUA unless your state has done something? This week. This is the last week you can certify for PUA unless your state does something. I'll go over what the unless situation is in a second. But your PUA stops at the end of this week. So what happens the week after, which I guess is the first week of January? Can you certify for PUA the first week of January? No. Can you certify for the second week of January? No. Now, that is the result of Congress letting this slide for too long. When is the first time that Congress can get this back on track? And if they got it back on track, let's say on Tuesday or Wednesday, and the president signs this on, Tuesday and becomes law, what would happen to your PUA best case scenario? What's the best case scenario for your PUA? Your best case scenario is that this becomes law next week. And then your PUA account, not the money, but your portal, or your profile or your claim will go from inactive to active once something becomes law. Now, I don't know how you actually do that. Some states may require you to touch a button or to click something, but you will eventually go from inactive to active once this becomes law. But the money is the big issue. When are you actually getting the money of that first week of PUA in January or the second week of January? You're not going to get it for a while. I'm predicting it's going to be at least the end of January, if not early February. There's a delay, and there's a delay not because of what's going on, but because this has been left to the last week of to the December. So you're not going to physically get the PUA right the first week of January after if your account is reactivated and put on active status. So states are slow, as Ms. Ashley just said. Yes, states are slow. All right, now let me go to PEUC. PEUC is what was created under CARES Act 1. It gave you additional weeks of unemployment assistance because of this pandemic. PUC is generally being used right now for viewers who were on unemployment and have been on unemployment since March or April. PUC gave you additional weeks because if you had not had PUEC, you would have already ran out of unemployment benefits. Now, PEUC is not an issue for you if you just started unemployment in the last few weeks. I have some viewers that started unemployment in November, so you're not at issue about what I'm about to talk about. I'm talking about people who have been unemployed as a UI, as a W-2 employee since March, February, April. All right. So what's happening with you on Sunday? Same thing. Your PUC is expiring on Sunday. So what's the impact? You're not going to see that first week, that week ending January 3rd or 4th. You're not going to physically get that money in your account anytime in the first few weeks of January. It may be late January or early February because of Congress waiting to the last second. All right, how about FPUC? That $300 a week that's in the proposed bill. You're never going to see this FPUC until at least late January, if not early February. I've not been drinking yet. Have you been drinking all day? I haven't drank anything yet. Uh, Maybe the other people in the room are. FPUC, your FPUC, that $300 a week would cover the period starting the first week of January, but you would not physically get the money until at least February. So there you are. Now let me turn to Biden's FPUC, which is really weird. So let's say we're January 25th, and they passed this law. You're sitting around, you still haven't gotten any FPUC for the first week, for the second week, for the third week. You're like, where's my money? I'm like, it's delayed, it's delayed, it's delayed, it's delayed. Okay, so then let's say Biden comes in and passes his FPUC retroactive back to July at $600 a week. How is this going to work? So states are going to have to do a strange calculation thing where they're going to have to give you the remainder of 600 versus 300. I've talked about this before, but it's very weird that Biden would basically, with his bill, override the current bill of $300 a week and go retro 600, forward 600, and override it so that states may have already routed in the mail to you $300 for the first, second, third week of January. They may have sent you $300 for the first 3 weeks of January, but then they're about to send you an extra $300 to cover those first few weeks because of Biden's switch to $600 a week. All right, now let's talk about state extended benefits. That's EB. That's state extended benefits. What's going on with your state extended benefits? Now, this is really where states are going to show if they really care. Hawaii, New York, New Jersey, Illinois are among the reported states that have done what's called extended benefits. What's extended benefits? You normally have a certain number of weeks of benefits on unemployment in your state. The federal government gave you additional weeks, and now those additional weeks are about to expire. So what are the states doing? They're saying, you can't expire. You can't have no unemployment the first week of January. You'll be on poverty. We can't do that. So we're going to give you extra weeks of unemployment assistance. And those extra weeks are called extended benefit weeks or extra weeks. And so this is really where states are showing their true colors of helping you. Some states have done it. Some states are expected to do it. And I want you to just really stay laser focused. I was talking to a friend the other day. I was talking about California, for example. California very little money. They don't have a lot of money in California, running on fumes, doesn't have a lot of money to do much of anything. So, but is California going to leave millions and millions of residents on the first week of January with no unemployment benefits in their pockets? I don't think so. I think that Gavin Newsom would do extended benefits in California. I think it's too scary. There's certain states where you just can't fathom the population not having extended weeks of benefits. And that's where the situation gets very scary. So I do think you're going to see a lot of states step up and do extended benefits. Um, you're going to see a lot of extended weeks of benefits. Um, then what you're going to see is real sad in life. I appreciate that. And so that is really what's next at play. Now, if you've not seen me, if you've not been with this channel if you're new to this channel the last few days, one of the subjects I was covering a lot in the last few days, in the weeks before, were enhanced unemployment benefits. I've not done it in a while, so I do really want to do it right now for you. Enhanced unemployment benefits. Let me just go over briefly, get a pen and paper, and let's get to it. The way you do enhanced unemployment benefits is you're basically looking at your 2019 tax return and seeing how much you made. States start you on the base level benefits. The base level benefits of a state may be $100, but every state has a range, the bottom and the maximum. The maximum may be as high as $500 a week, but they're starting you at $100 a week. So how do I get up to $500 a week? And who's getting the $500 a week? Let me explain what's going on. States pay a range based upon your 2019 taxes, but they don't raise you. They don't raise you from 100 to 500 unless you start showing them their tax return and saying, "Hi, I think I qualify for additional weekly benefits." The word escalated benefits you should never use with anyone else because it's just a term that I and you use. You and I use. It's not a term that anyone else uses. So you should just use the simple words like extra weeks of benefits. How do you do this? And how much can you get? And do you qualify? It's generally for anyone who has $18,000 or more in 2019 earnings. You pull your 2019 tax return and look at it. Is there at least $18,000 in 2019 earnings? Then you should go do this. Let me explain to you how much money you will get. If you have been unemployed since March, that's about 30 weeks. This would impact 30 weeks of benefits. So let me use 30 weeks as an example based upon 2019 earnings. If you made $18,000 or more in 2019, if you made $18,000 to $25,000 2019 earnings, you'll be able to raise your benefits about $50 a week, which is about $1,500, bam, right in your account. If you're able to raise your if you made $25,000 to $30,000 2019, you'll be able to raise your benefits about $100 a week, which is $3,000, bam, right account. Um, who is this person spamming in here? Can someone? This person's just so annoying. This is Christmas. This is not the time to. There we go. Gone. Lord, who is this person? Okay, perfect. Lord, okay, now I know how to block people. Lord, it was like 9,000 comments about Biden. It was like enough already. Um, no, no, the person's gone, permanently gone. Now I know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. That was my Christmas gift. I learned how to block someone on the fly. So it's blocked on the fly. Bye. Bye. Uh, Lord, it was like 9,000 comments about Biden. Biden's not going to be the president. He's not like, okay, stop it already. Thank you. Just take that somewhere else. Uh, all right. So if you made 18,000 to 25,000 2019 earnings, you'll be able to raise your benefit about $50 a week, which is $1,500, bam, right in your account. If you made $25,000 to $30,000, you'll be able to raise your benefits about $100 a week, which is $3,000, bam, right in your account. And if you made over $30,000 a year 2019 earnings, $30,000 a year, you'll be able to raise your benefits about $300 a week, which is about $10,000, bam, right in your account. I have no less than 4 or 5 viewers who have done this. If you made over $30,000 2019 earnings, you need to do this. So how do you do it? You get your 2019 tax return. You get it on your computer or your phone, however you do it, taking a picture or scanning it, and then send it off to the unemployment office with a nice cover letter. Very, very simple words saying, "Hi, I want to see if I qualify for extra weeks of benefits or additional week. Excuse me. I want to see if I qualify for extra benefits per week. See if I qualify for additional money per week based upon my 2019 tax return." Send it off and then call them the day after, and then keep on calling them, and there you go. All right, now at the 25-minute mark, let me give you an update where we are on your second stimulus check and your second stimulus package. The attempt to get PUA, FPUC, and UI extended in a second stimulus package is now on hold as the bill sits on the president's table and the president is not doing anything with the bill. The bill will not move unless a series of amendments are made. The president's called for 4 amendments. Of them, one amendment the Democrats are not doing. The other 3 the Republicans are not doing. So you see, one side is doing half of the amendments, and the other side is doing the other half of the amendments. Neither side is doing anything what the president is asking for. And ultimately, it's just sort of an act of, antics. Because if anything they ever finalize landed back at the president's table, he's going to say, "I asked for 4 things, you did 2." And so the net result is that your your PEUC, which is your UI, and your PUA will expire this Sunday. They will expire this Sunday, and you're not going to get paid your first week of UI or PUA in the first week of January on time unless your state is doing extended weeks of benefits. That's the first thing. The second thing is that your FPUC, the $300 a week that's proposed in the bill, also is going to get delayed. And that is not going to show up anytime in your bank account anywhere in the middle of January, maybe not into the early February. So these things are all being slowed down because there is no agreement. Moreover, these things have to be done several weeks ahead of time. So Trump can only sign it or ignore it. That is correct. He can really either veto it. Well, no, he can also veto. I think when you say sign, you mean veto. He can agree to it and sign it. He can veto it, or he can ignore it. Ignoring it is what you call. Didn't he sign it back in summer with the $2,000? No, he never signed anything for $2,000. So he could either sign it, he can veto it, or do nothing. So he can really do 3 things. What I detailed on this video today is a big twist that you're never going to hear anywhere else, is the Mitch McConnell twist. Mitch McConnell has really 3 options coming into Monday. He has the option to either override the veto of the president, which he can because he did get enough Senate votes in favor of the bill. 2, he can do nothing and just have Nancy Pelosi send her bill, which presumably will pass the House, into the Senate, and him to just do nothing. Say, "I'm not going to call a vote, I'm just doing nothing." Or 3, Mitch can do his own amendment to the bill, exactly how the president said, all 4 items, get it passed to the House, send it to the Senate, passed in the Senate, send it to the House, and then have Nancy battle with that problem. It's my prediction that Mitch will likely do the last and should do the last one because that, 1, is what the president asked for. 2, it's the only one that really pairs off of Nancy's strategy move. Her strategy move is that Republicans don't want to do a stimulus check. That's not accurate. Republicans just don't want to do one of the 4 changes. They want all 4 changes done because that's what the president asked. Well, if that's what they want to do, then do all 4 changes and then send it to Nancy. Say, "We did all 4 changes. You did 1 change. We did the correct thing." And that's what Mitch should do. It says Randy Pierce. Absolutely. It's the only thing that Mitch really should do at this point, which is exactly what the president said. Moreover, if I ran the video for you no less than 2 weeks ago, Mitch McConnell said on broadcast news that he would only do what the president wants him to do. This is what the president wants him to do. It's not, and this is what the president wants him to do. Now, here is another thing to consider. If he did the 4 items, he puts it to a vote. Let's say it fails. Let's say it fails in the Senate. Let's say there's not enough Senate votes in favor of it. At least then he's attempted to do what the president asked. The president asked for something. The only problem is the president doesn't have his own party supporting something. That's not really Mitch's fault. Mitch's fault is to do what the president asks and to set it for a vote. And if it fails, that's not Mitch's fault. It's not the president's fault. And ultimately, Nancy can't blame Mitch or the president, and also can't use that as really a good rallying cry for Georgia. Because at that point, it's not Georgia, it's not Mitch, it's not Donald. It's rather 20 Republicans in the Senate who don't want to give you anything. And they're not Georgia. So it's sort of a mixed bag. You can't win at everything on this, but a lot of things are twisting and turning. Do you have any questions then about UI, PUA, FPUC, or your stimulus check? Go purple, says Janet. Yes, a purple shirt indeed. Can we see the bling on your shirt? Oh yeah, sure. Let's see. It's not. It's It's not bling. It's I don't know what you would call it. It's elevated, but it's not bling, and it's South Pole. I would. It's not bling, but it's that other thing. I don't know what you would call it. It's elevated. It's elevated. Mitch the Grint not likely to happen. Elliot, are those two seats still vacant in Georgia, and what's going on with them? They're going to a vote on January 5th, and so this is becoming a big political move about those two seats going to a vote on January 5th. Elliot, do you believe Trump will sign it? The Senator Blount this morning, Republican, number 4 in the Senate, says that he doesn't know what Trump is going to do, but he hopes that Trump signs the current bill, the $600, the current bill. And, I talked about today as well that we're getting so off the tracks right now that we all know that $600 is a bad stimulus amount, but the remainder of this bill is so much has a lot of good stuff in it. Yeah, it's missing stuff. Yeah, there's stuff missing. Yeah, there are things that are incorrect, but it has some good stuff in here that it's better to have this than nothing. And and Blount was hoping the president signs the bill. Blount says you needed help. He didn't say you don't need help. He just doesn't want this bill to unravel. And unraveling is not a good thing. Did they remove the international aid money? No. So that's really what's happening is the Republicans want it removed, you want it removed, I want it removed, Twitter wants it removed, and the Democrats refuse to remove it. And the Democrats are refusing to even acknowledge it exists. And broadcast media is not covering the subject. Can Trump do executive orders? He can't. He won't. He's not focused on this anymore. Quick update. I just joined. Yes, I'll give you an update at the 35-minute mark. We're at 32 minutes now. If Mitch changes the 4 things, he will win Georgia, says Randy. Um, I think so. I think if he does the 4 changes, even if they don't pass the Senate, even if those miserly senators who don't want to spend anything like the Ron Johnsons of the world, even if they block the vote and it doesn't pass the Senate, I think he will show that as a leader of the Senate, he did the right thing. Doing the right thing is doing what the president asked, 4 things. What they need to do is standalone bill for the $2,000 stimulus checks. Well, that's absolutely true. Pelosi printed all those pages and then sent them to the president. That's a lot of printing. Good luck with that necklace. Thank you. Smash the Christmas tree light. There you go. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. Please also hit that alert button on the front of this channel so you get alert when a new video goes live. Also like this video. I got Prosecco. Oh, that sounds wonderful. State stimulus. Yes, I'll be covering state stimulus on Purple Power Live tonight, which will also be a Christmas party. Viewers had asked for a Christmas party, so Purple Power Live tonight will be an impromptu Christmas party. Not sure how I'm going to do it, but I'll figure it out by then. Do you think Biden will do executive order? Biden will do executive order, presumably on day 1 for 3 items. First, student loan debt forgiveness, not moratorium, but forgiveness. mortgage forbearance, and eviction moratorium. Trump should sign it and run off into the sunset, says Deanna. A lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe that what he's doing now is not good. It's not good for his history. That this sort of, doing something and then sort of going off and playing golf is it's just causing chaos. Causing chaos is not a leader. We all know that $2,000 is a wonder. What that video was exceptional, but he did wait to the 11th hour. What I didn't just say in this recording is he clearly could have done this a long time ago. He could have done this during the negotiations. He could have done it before the negotiations. He could have done this before. Rather, he wanted to create a reality TV moment that is high drama after the bill was passed. We all know we're on an emergency time frame. We all know we only have a few days to do this. He waits the 11th hour to make this proclamation. And even if you think that the foreign aid was inserted in there at the 11th hour for, by some improper means, okay, I'll give that to him. But the stimulus check amount, I was reporting to you a week before they even wrote it that he told Josh Hawley $1,200 to $2,000. That's a difference than saying I'm not going to agree to it if it's less. He never told Josh Hawley, I'm not going to agree to it unless it's 2,000. He said, I would prefer to be at 1,200 to 2,000. So, it's not fair to the American people for him to have made this determination after the fact and then simply say, okay, here I am. I'm going to change everything after the fact because we're on an emergency time schedule. We need to get these things out right now. And yes, it is great. He's the only one who has the audacity to say, do this right thing. But he waited too long. This goes back to things that people always ask me about. Why didn't he do executive orders before the election? Yeah, had he done an executive order for a $5,000 stimulus check by repurposing CARES Act 1 money, he probably would have won the election. He should have sent out a stimulus check before the election, before you went to vote, got the stimulus check in October, and viewers would have reacted to him differently had he actually exercised this authority and sent you out a stimulus check. Or extended the eviction moratorium into March, or extended the moratorium, and what he didn't do is he waited and waited and waited, and it is not his fault. But what he did do is that he waited until after the bill was voted upon to say I don't want $600. He was asked every single day what amount he wanted. And he knew this was an emergency bill with an emergency timeline. It's not good to wait to the 11th hour. It's important to understand there's a time frame for this. Why couldn't Pelosi send the bill via DocuSign? There's a lot of problems with this ability to slide pork in at the 11th hour. No one in these elected officials are explaining what unfolded, because they apparently do it to each other all the time. All right, with that, let me give you an update on where we are on your second stimulus check and second stimulus package. Where we are is that we really have no change functionally because the bill is still on the president's table, and that the events of today changed nothing. The events of today included two votes, one vote by the Republicans to take out the foreign aid, one vote by the Democrats to change the stimulus check. But with one side doing one item and one side doing the other item, neither side were doing four items, which is what the president asked for. Pelosi on Monday will repeat the process again and try to pass, and will likely pass, a bill changing one of four items, sending it to the Senate. At that point, Mitch McConnell has to decide what to do. My recommendation is that of the three options, Mitch McConnell should do exactly what the president asked, 1, 2, 3, 4, get it passed through the Senate, hopefully, and then send it to Nancy. Even if it fails in the Senate, at least Mitch does exactly what the president asked for, and he won't look bad in either the president's eyes, the Republicans' eyes, or those Georgia voters. Ultimately, getting things passed is not his fault. It's the fault of those miserly Republicans who don't want to give you a darn stimulus check. The net result is that throughout the day, the broadcast media has not been fair to the Republicans because they've been only talking about the stimulus check. They've not been talking about the issues of the foreign aid, and they've not been talking about the other issues of the Kennedy Center money. So they've only been talking about one of the four items, and that's why the narrative is getting off the track very quickly. Mitch has two other options on Monday. One, to do nothing, which I think is catastrophic, or two, to override the pocket veto. I don't think he'll do that either as well. And there you go. You're now up to date. Join me next on Evening's Check, which will have big updates across the board. And then I'll be back with Purple Power Live for a special Christmas live recording. Join me, bring your holiday cheer, and let's get rock and rolling. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, stay FLA for more.